Emily Post's name is synonymous with proper etiquette and good manners. And more than half a century after her death, the Emily Post Institute maintains and evolves the standards of etiquette that Emily Post established back in 1922. And here, great-great-granddaughter Anna Post joins us this morning from New York City. And we are also very happy to say that we're joined by Medical Director of the National Foundation for Infectious Diseases, Dr. Susan Rehm. Thank you both so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, we're going to talk about sharing proper cold and flu etiquette, which, by the way, girls, I have it right now. So I need your help.
Oh.
And tell me, how well-mannered are Americans in general?
You know, it's interesting, and in general, I'd say we're not so bad, but when it comes to flu etiquette, a recent survey by the NFID showed that nearly 2/3 of Americans admit to being that guy who goes about their daily business despite having signs of the flu. And that is one of the best things that you can do to help prevent the spread of flu, is to be able to stay home and see a doctor.
Except when you host a TV show. But you co-author Emily Post Etiquette's Manners for a New World. And so you've really discovered a lot of things. I mean, what have you found most changed over the last 90 years?
You know, some of the things that have changed the most are just how we interact on a day-to-day basis. The idea of being considerate with each other has stayed the same. And it's been interesting, actually, with the flu in recent years, there's been some new manners that have developed. You know, when I was a little girl, I learned to sneeze into my hands. But now it's the sleeve, or still a tissue is really good. A tissue and dispose. Not those charming retro handkerchiefs, but a tissue.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, Dr. Rehm, I mean, you could tell us some of the most common flu faux pas. What are they? I need this help desperately.
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the biggest things is that we're all so anxious to do what we're going to do that, as a survey mentioned, nearly 2/3 of us continue to work or to go to school or to do our usual activities even though we're sick with influenza. But I think it's something that we need to learn more about, is how to differentiate between influenza and a common cold. And we've come up with the word FACS as a way to summarize the symptoms of influenza. That's fever, aches, chills, tiredness, and sudden onset. So when you feel something that sudden onset, and you feel the achiness and the headache and so on, even before you get a fever, think about the fact that it could be flu. Call your doctor, leave your workplace, and start getting better.
Well, I know Anna mentioned about sneezing, sneezing into your sleeve. So in general, with sneezing, sniffling, coughing, I mean, is blowing your nose, is there really a specific proper way?
You know, a small little blow of the nose is, of course, we all have to do that from time to time. A big honking blow, you might take that one to the restroom where you can then wash up afterwards. I think we'd all appreciate it.
Well, should we avoid shaking hands? I mean, a lot of times people will come up to me and shake my hand. I mean, when you don't feel well, is that just an absolute no-no? I mean, we don't want to be rude. We never know who's a carrier, the other person or yourself.
You know, staying home's the best thing, but if you're out and about, in that case, yes, you can simply say instead what that handshake would have said. You know, it's a pleasure to meet you, but forgive me for not shaking hands, or you can, you know, switch that around. Either way, it works well to keep that focus on what the handshake would have said. You know, you can find out some more information like this at flufacts.com, where I have a couple of quizzes that test your knowledge on subjects exactly like that one.
Flufacts.com. We will definitely check that out. And last question, because I know a lot of people are wondering, what is like the parameter? How sick do I have to be to stay home?
You know, that's a tough one. I think anytime you have a fever, you really ought to seriously consider staying home. And you ought to call your doctor as well. That's really important. And I think that sudden onset illness, anytime you have a sudden onset illness, you really should be in contact with your doctor, and I would stay home or stay away with from your other activities if you possibly can with that.
Fantastic advice from both of you. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will take your advice for sure. Have a wonderful day, girls. Thank you.